Hi, I'm Dr. Matthew Norton, the founder of People Plus Purpose, and this is the Truth Behind Dentistry podcast. And today, my guest is Dr. Will Little, CEO and co-founder of Guided Practice Solutions. Dr. Little graduated dental school in 2013 and in 2015 teamed up with his friend Dr. Hunter Smith to co-found GPS Dental. They have worked to build quality partnerships with great clinicians in exceptional practices across the country. GPS was built on clinical autonomy and transparency between the DSO and their doctors, where they work to protect the practice of clinical dentistry while creating value for the GPS partners. He and his wife, Bryn, have 3 children. He has a passion for golf course architecture and enjoys playing at new courses all over the country, as well as duck hunting across Northeast Arkansas. Welcome to the podcast, Doctor.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you having me. Look forward to it.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. And I love getting a little personal elements of the story of people. The golf course architecture thing, I think, is the first time that has appeared in any of the podcasts. So blazing a trail on that one.
A
Um,
laser for sure.
so, so since this is the Truth Behind Dentistry podcast, I'd like to kind of get just straight to some of the perceptions and strong opinions, really, that people have about DSOs. And so, what would you say are some of the actual problems? I mean, there's perceptions that could be misperceptions, and we'll get to that in a minute, but actual problems with many DSOs that have helped kind of create a negative reputation in the profession. What would you say?
Yeah, certainly. There's a lot of a lot of things out there in dentistry, right? I mean, that's it's the same. It's the same with private practice dentistry too. There's going to be good actors. There's going to be bad actors. DSO is the same. There's going to be good actors. There's going to be bad actors. So, I think the connotations have sort of shifted. I think early on in the DSO world, the negative connotation was top down, corporate approach, the crown quotas and the treatment plan, not being able to treat your patients the way that you would want to treat them and things of that
Mhm.
nature.
Mhm.
I think that was the early what kind of got started down is the treatment plan. I think that most DSOs, for the most part, at least this at this point, have sort of punched through that connotation for the most part. It's at least the ones that we deal with in the partner organizations and the groups that I've talked to, at least at this point, the doctors are going to be smart enough, but they know enough about the profession that they're going to enter into a partnership with the DSO. They can, that's one of the first questions they ask. They talk to references, and if that's something that's going on, then you're not going to make it very far in the DSO world anymore. So, and anymore, I think as it shifted, it's to the DSOs that have just sort of bought practices, right? Look, we're going to come in and just roll up dental practices, we're going to get 10, 12, 13, 14, whatever, and sell them to a private equity group, and everybody's going to make X dollars, and that's what it's all about. And look, I mean, if you want to start doing that, I mean, it's a free world, you do what you want, right? But I don't think that's adding value to the profession or value to doctors. And anymore, I think the negative connotations are coming from that. It's from people that have gotten into maybe some of these partnerships, and then they have equity in something, and then nothing happens with it, and it's just a conglomeration of practices where people aren't getting any value out of it. They're not getting any monetary value, any life help, any help within the practice, things of that nature. So and it's definitely out there. Look, it is. I mean, there's no doubt about that. And it's what happens, right? It's sort of the copycat game. You see it. I mean, it's been that way forever, and in every industry. There's people that blaze a trail and do great things, and then there's going to be a lot to try to piggyback behind them. So, I think the really good DSOs are ones that provide value to their doctors. They help from a life perspective as well as a monetary perspective, and I think the ones that with the negative connotations are the ones that don't. The pure what they call asset aggregators, right? Just the grabbing of dental practices and that's not helpful, to the profession. It's not, so that I think is what's leading the negative connotation at this point in dentistry.
Um, I think that, what from my experience, that there's a lot of really genius, smart people who become dentists and who have developed very excellent clinical skills, but it does seem like the areas of lack of business educational background and maybe an ill preparedness for running your own practice, as well as the leadership challenge as well, because when did that ever show up in the preparation? So I think to the degree those elements are help to be met and served by a larger organization, I think that can be a great thing. I think from what I've heard and observed is that sometimes there's a feeling that the doctors are, like you were mentioning, the doctors are compromised to some degree by a lot of DSOs at least in the past, if maybe not as much now. The teams often didn't feel like they were always supported and felt more like they were pushed as well. And also sometimes the concern about was everything the best for the patients, given that kind of maybe purely business numbers profitability perspective. So I like what you're saying in terms of the ability to integrate the various needs and concerns. And I guess the next question I have for you is, what are prospective partner doctors? What's the main, like when they come to you, what's the main concern they're wanting you to speak to, as far as, do I want to be a part of what your group is, or a DSO at all at this point?
And that's the crux, I think, of what's happening in the DSO world right now is why, right? I think a lot of people from the outside, that aren't dentists, look into this profession and it's like, oh, well, you should just own your own shop forever and ever. And look, that's great, it's fantastic. I think that needs to be a part of dentistry, always does. And look, to your point, if you can. And I think just to add on what you said about the business side, and even the guys that are extremely smart business wise, like you have to have time. And if you're in the chair from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, seeing patients, it's extremely difficult to have the motivation and the time perspective to work on the business itself and deal with the personalities that are around you. I mean, you have, not only do you have 45 patients plus a day you're seeing, then you have, 10 plus employees that have families and needs and things like that. So I don't think dentistry gets enough credit. And you've been in it a while, but it's, from the outside looking in, I don't think dentistry gets enough credit for how difficult it is to run a dental practice successfully. Feel like that you're doing everything for everybody, including your family at home, right? So it's quite difficult to do that. So yeah. So just to answer your question, why would people come into the fold? Well, there's multiple reasons, right? And that's sort of, you don't. There's you don't have to join a DSO. I don't think it's better for everybody. I really don't. I think it's better for a lot of people. I think there's some people that look, they want to have their own thing, their own time. They want to run it their own way all the time. Not, I think that's great. I mean, and there's some people that would have a hard time partnering with another dentist, much less a DSO, and have a partnership like that. So I think that, of course, yeah, you're better off running your own shop. But look, there's people in the profession that are doing it for a long time that come to us and say, look, hey, I want some help, and I think anymore, the monetary aspect is good enough for some people, even if, I think in a lot of cases we can make people quite a bit of money, and there's other DSOs that can too. But I think even in some instances, there's doctors that's like, look, hey, I just need some help. Like, let's partner up. You help run this thing, and just let me do some dentistry, and let me throw off some of this other stuff to you. And look, if it allows you to put your head on a pillow at night and feel better about what you're doing every day, then that's what it's all about. I mean, ultimately, and that's what we're here to do. I think optionality is a good thing. I mean, just in any profession, in any situation, it's, we think we want to be there for those dentists that need us, right? And then there's some that won't, and that's great. And there's some that don't need to, and that's also great. But yeah, they're coming to us and saying like, look, hey, I'd like to take some chips off the table, maybe have a big practice. They're, making a lot of money, and, and they're, want to take some chips off the table first and make a little money up front, help do some things from a monetary perspective. And that's fine if that's your goal. Number two, definitely the most common is, hey, look, the managerial aspect has gotten to be something that I really can't do. And that's not a single practice. Typically, we have a lot of doctors that have multiple locations now, maybe 2-3 locations. Maybe they're not as clinical as they were. Maybe they're working 2-3 days, and then it's just the administrative aspect of trying to, maybe they started to go multi-practice and then just decided, hey, look, I don't want to get past where I am now. So why don't we join up and let you help in that endeavor? And then off we go. So it's sort of the group of people that tend to come to us that have that sort of mindset of need the managerial help or want to take some chips off the table and just take a little bit of monetary value out of the practice that they built. And either one's okay. That's great. And then there's some other reasons along the way, but there's associate help too is a big one. If you have a big practice with a lot of associates, you're tired of recruiting associates, and bringing a partner in to help in that endeavor is certainly a big thing as well. So that's just some of the most common reasons.
Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you for that. Being somebody in the coaching world who has used strengths-based assessments to look at what people are uniquely bringing to their role, to their business, to their specific role, to their teams, I've often felt, or maybe confirmed, that some people are not ideally suited for certain things, given their style, given their strengths, and that even that could be clarified even before they went to school. And sometimes I've thought, for all the money that's invested into becoming a doctor and the debt that is typically there in the aftermath, that have they thought through what the plan is going to be, given where they are lacking some strengths, may not be as equally well suited for certain parts of owning their own business. And whether that's being a great communicator, whether that is paying attention to all the details, whether that is the leader or some of the HR elements, none of us possess all the strengths that are really needed to thrive in any endeavor, right? Which is why partnering, I think, can be great as long as you can trust partners, and also if it's intentional, in the sense that we've paired people that actually can thrive together and that complement with strengths. But I like, as you were talking about having multiple options, I like the thought of people knowing going in, this is who I am. I know myself well enough. I believe I know what I want, but how I might play that for the greatest, so I can thrive in this business rather than getting burned out and feeling stressed and even hating it at points like some doctors do, I think is really valuable. And to the degree that DSOs offer a broad range of types of support that help fill in gaps that people are missing, I think that could be a wonderful thing.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I think a blanket yes and a blanket no is unfair. It really in anything. I think, blanket everybody should own a dental practice is unfair. I think that there's dentists that need to be, that just prefer to be associates and not have to take the business aspect of it over. Obviously, I owned a practice early, bought a practice out of school, from Dr. Ron Burnett here in Jonesboro, Arkansas, and he was a great mentor, and it was the best thing for me at the time, for sure, no question. But that doesn't have to be everybody. Same with DSOs. Look, I mean, the connotation of, hey, never sell to a DSO or never partner with a DSO is just unfair. I would just tell you, look, I mean, to your point exactly, Matthew. I mean, it's look around you, the people you trust, look at at what you want to do in the profession, and just follow that path. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to have a good career in dentistry. It's a great profession. It really is. I mean, I think that it's provided a lot of people over the course of their lives a great living for them and for themselves and their families. So, to your point, I think that just optionality in anything is great. So, I mean, definitely that's why DSO sort of proliferated, is because of the cost of rising cost of student debt, rising cost of owning a practice, and the inability for a lot of younger dentists to get into ownership quickly, right? And it's a huge barrier now, for sure. So I think, if you bought a practice 25 years ago, I think it's also a little bit unfair to say, oh, well, you should do it now. It's a different landscape. It just is. It's much harder to buy practice there. It's a more competitive landscape just in general. I think that, then you also have student debt, right? And rising cost of housing and things like that. If you want to start a family early on in your career, which typically a lot of people do, because you're getting out at 26, 27, right? So, I mean, it's that's sort of, so, I mean, that's where it all kind of came in, right? Is this kind of middle ground, which is, yeah, be a part of this versus having to go buy practice or something like that. And we do believe in on-site ownership. I mean, just GPS as a whole, we're a partner organization. So, for people that come into us, not to plug GPS or anything, there's other DSOs that do this. I don't want that to be that. So for associates to come in and then buy into something or be a equity owner somewhere or something is also a good thing. So not only if you join a DSO, doesn't mean you just have to associate your whole life. There's DSOs that can provide that type of ownership and partner ability to where you don't have to take on the whole leadership of the practice and don't have to take on a multi-million-dollar note to then go run it and take on that risk for yourself. There's ways to do that now, which is honestly sort of why GPS got started, was to provide pathways for young dentists to get into ownership. So there's pathways to do that now, which I think is cool. I mean, I think if that didn't exist, there's just two things, right? It's work for somebody or buy practice. And that's just not really perfect for everybody. It's not a perfect fit. So there's, I think a DSO or a group like us or any really absentee owner, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be a huge DSO, but where you don't have your traditional doctor owner working on the majority of the patients and then associate that's there to clean up the rest, right? There's opportunities for that middle ground partnership, ownership type stuff, which is really good, to your point, based on individual strengths of the person, what they want to do within the profession. So I would always say, look, if you're looking at trying to partner with a DSO or want to, or whether you're a young dentist or whether you've been in the game for a long time, look, talk to your CPA, talk to your lawyers, some trusted individuals that are friends of yours. Say, look, what do you think I need to do in this scenario? This is what I want. Maybe I'm burnt out. Maybe I'm tired, something like that. Just go in with eyes wide open, talk to as many references as you can, within these groups, if it's a path you want to go down, and then make your own decision. Don't look outside influences other than the people that you trust. There's a lot of people that give you a lot of advice that don't necessarily know you, or maybe they owned a practice for 30 years. They still know the landscape, and that's fine. That's their opinion, but you need to make your own opinions in the profession. It's your profession. It's your career. Do what you think's best out there for you. And that's what we're here to do, or try to do, is help dentists that want to go down this path and try to provide them a place where they can further themselves in the career. And I think other DSOs are doing that out there too. So, yeah.
I appreciate the graciousness with your perspective relative to you and other DSOs that are also seeking to do good things. Let me take that into more specifically to talk about you and your organization. So in terms of how GPS has positioned itself to overcome some of the negatives that have, things that maybe have not been optimal for everyone, and to build something better, maybe for everybody involved in the organization.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'll try to stay real brief on this because I don't want to dive too far into just GPS itself. But yeah, I think you need to start with, and I'm extremely biased on this. So don't take this but I think other dentists will agree with me. You need an organization that's dentist led. I just feel that way. I think that, I think that the best ones over time have been dentist led DSOs. I really do. And, Hunter and myself are both general dentists. We both practiced. I mean, I practiced full time up until just a couple of years ago. I mean, so ever since I graduated, I mean, went to the office, saw patients every day. I know what people are going through, and I just don't know that you can necessarily run one of these at a really high level without knowing what your individual dentists are going through, right? So, I think it starts with that. I really do. It starts with, clinical autonomy and letting people do what they want in the operatories, and then being a dentist so that when, so that you can, as you navigate this thing, there's going to be a lot of people, a lot of people push into the DSO world. There's a lot of, it's just the way it is. I mean, there's private equity groups that come in, and it's, that suggest things, and they might not be even bad suggestions. It's just that maybe as a dentist, you have a different perspective for what, for more like anymore. I tell people this all the time, as a CEO in my company, I'm more like a guardian, at this point in time. I want to be the gatekeeper for all the things that are going on out there in the outside world for our dentists, and just try to provide them the best possible place to work. So it definitely all starts there. And I definitely think that, for us, being a partner organization, I think for dentists out there, it seems to be, I think, is the best way to go. So there's a few of us that do that. There's a few dentist-led partner-based organizations, and I think there's some good players that do that. I think that having ownership in your practice still and being able to participate in that upside long term is very, very valuable. So I do think though, and that you got to be careful. And I was one, so I'm at one point, so I'm definitely sensitive to this. But as a real long established practice, you got to be a little bit careful with the upstarts. It's hard because it's a tough path. I know how tough it is, and thankfully GPS kind of got out to the other side of it with the help of a lot of key people. So I definitely think that GPS now. I mean, look, dentist led, partner based organization with doctors that can participate in upside, with associates that have the ability to buy in multiple ways within an organization, that have been around the block, been through a private equity recap, and gone out the other side to now. I think it's positioned us pretty well in the market to be able to provide value to dentists, and that's what we're here to do. I mean, it's not anything else. It's we want to provide a conduit for dentists that want to come into this thing and really feel like we want people to look up 15, 20 years down the road after partnering with GPS, say, look, that was a great decision for me, whether it be financial, that's fine. Whether it be, mental, getting out of the grind every day, whether it just be help in some certain ways. So that's certainly where GPS just in general has tried to position itself. And once again, there's other DSOs that have done that as well. So, I think that it's not just us, but, I think we're trying to be a good player in the game, and hopefully our dentists feel that way. So we're excited about that. We've got a good group of cohesive dentists that I think feel good about GPS and the decision they made. So.
Well, let me even add to that just briefly to say that the reason you and I are speaking is because I was introduced to you by one of those doctors that is a part of your organization, someone who has made a decision not to continue his clinical dentistry at this point, right? But still is up to this moment in time, but is now going to have the opportunity to be a coach contributor into the organization, which he's very enthusiastic about. But he's the one who shared with me about how he felt, given maybe his previous conceptions, as a solo practitioner, but what he's experienced with you and why he thought that GPS was uniquely different. And so that's what kind of precipitated me reaching out to you to have a conversation to kind of see and to give voice to perspectives that people are often not hearing. So just so people kind of know, well, how did we end up in this conversation? And it really did come from an affirming voice from within, which I think is always meaningful as well. So
that's the most gratifying thing for sure for us and me personally. That's what we're trying to do is and I think we have several doctors in the organization that are proud of what they've done, proud of GPS, proud of what we're doing. And look, that's what matters. The internal, the people that you work with every day, those are the people that if they're happy with what you're doing, then we're all right. So I'm good with that. So that means a lot. I appreciate you sharing that too. That's fantastic. So
yeah. Absolutely. One more quick thought before we wrap up. You mentioned about the current dental landscape that's maybe different than things have been times past. So for doctors, is there anything more that you would want to say to doctors listening who are thinking, I'm not sure if this is right for me? Maybe they're just ready to get started. Maybe they've already been doing this for quite a while. What are maybe a couple of other criteria, things to look at, things to help facilitate a decision as to whether to move your direction or, a DSO direction or not?
Yeah, we've alluded to it a little bit, but it definitely it's a very, very, very personal decision in my mind. I think that you really just have to kind of look from within and decide if that's the path you want to go down. Now, there's things, right, that allow you to do it, maybe that don't work for other things, right? But you just got to look at your career. It's like, am I happy doing what I'm doing? If you own a practice, for instance, and you're looking at partnering with a DSO, right? It's what you got to look. Number one, it's like, look, do I want a partner first and foremost? It's not because the monetary aspect of it, you can make, but it's not like you're going to make 10 million more dollars than if you were going to hold your own practice for a long period of time, right? I mean, if everything's structured right and the DSO structured right, and you get value out of your equity, of course. I mean, admittedly, I'm doing it. I don't think there's the people that have done it up to this point with us wouldn't still be partnering with us if they couldn't have a really nice financial outcome. However, that's not the end all be all. And I would definitely say that, whenever you're looking at things like that, even if you're talking about the same amount of money, look, if I held this practice for 20 years versus partnering with a DSO and then holding it for 20 years, what does that DSO give me, right? Can they give me time, right? Can they give me, just less administrative headache? What can they take off my plate? And that's, to me, it's like, what are you, at least in this profession, it's like, I got to give you one or two things, at least to make your life better. I either got to give you time or I got to give you money, right? And that's sort of, your decision to make. And if you can, obviously, I think if you can get both of those, then you probably need to continue down the path, right? And there's practices that maybe you're not, if it's a fairly small practice, you don't have a lot of employees. There's the time aspect. You may not spend very much time on the business, and you may not make very much more money by working with a DSO. And then you'd rather you say, hey, look, I'd rather just do it myself, and that's perfect. So that's what I would say is like, look, let's look and see realistically. I mean, how much time would I have? I mean, how much time you spend on the business? How much extra work is it? How much is the headache for you? How much money is there to be had, if there is any, right? Then you're looking at those kind of aspects, and it's like, and then with all the stuff we talked about first, that I'm even leaving out, is then picking a DSO, right, that will allow the patients to be treated the way they need to be treated, that will allow the staff, and then a lot of DSOs can add benefits. A lot of smaller dental practices don't have health insurance and 401ks. And a lot of, the DSOs like us, do have those things for an employee. So ideally we can be a better place to work for a lot of these employees and provide them with benefits maybe that a smaller practice just can't do from a monetary perspective. So, that's the things, like look all the way down the line and call people, call references, call your friends, call people that are in DSOs, call people that are not, right? I mean, it's like, look, get all the perspectives, ask your CPA, ask your lawyer, eyes wide open, stuff like that. If you have a coach like yourself, talk to them about it. So, really go down the line and see what it's always. It is a big decision. So that's what I would say, starts obviously, will I get to treat patients the way I want to treat them? Absolutely. Are you going to treat my employees well? What are you going to bring to the table for them? And then are we checking those boxes first and foremost? And then, hey, then what am I going to get out of this thing? Whether it be time, money, value, cohesiveness, a community. I mean, all those things can matter to you, and it matters to different people, right? So, and then if you get down the line and say, all right, look, it's going to allow me to do this, it's going to give me this, it's going to give me that, then make your decision that way. But I think that's the best way to look at it. If you're looking at entering that relationship, I would encourage everybody to look at their situations. I mean, why not? I mean, it's like, I don't know, it's like anything. I mean, you want to know what your options are, and you want to know what's out there. You don't have to transact. I mean, anybody can call me. I mean, and talk. We can talk about deals. I've talked to a lot of dentists that didn't transact with us, and hopefully I've given them some valuable advice. And there's been plenty that I've said, hey, you need to continue on your path the way that you're doing. I think it's a great thing to do. So it's, once again, just back to optionality. We want to provide that for people. Go in with eyes wide open, ask people you trust, and don't be scared to ask questions, and really figure out what that DSO does. Go visit them. If you're looking at it, go see what the operation's like. Go see how happy the people that are working within it are, the people that aren't in the practice, right? That do it all. I mean, and then make your decision versus, having preconceived notions before you ever get into it. So let's probably touch more wordy than we wanted, but I'm a little bit passionate about that point.
Yeah, so. That's good. I appreciate that, the perspective and the guidance that in that response. And it just made me think of two quick things. One is, as you were talking about all these different possibilities for what doing this could do for you, I think asking why is a really good question for any decisions that you're going to make, right? Am I going to make a mid-course? Well, why would I want to do that? Right. And that comes back to probably, like you're saying, is that really going to solve pain points? Like when people hire me, they're not going to hire me to help them coach and help with their people challenges and to get clear on where they're going in their work if there's not some sense of a pain point, right? So they're probably not going to make a major shift in their career, or probably shouldn't if they don't know why. And if you're not going to provide a solution for some key pain point, or to provide opportunity, like you say, with greater freedom, maybe that would be meaningful. So this has been very good. I absolutely appreciate your time and your input. For everybody who's been watching us, listening to this conversation, who would like to know more, to connect and find out more about GPS, what's the best way for them to do that?
Anybody's welcome to reach out to me directly. I love having conversations with dentists. So, wlittle@gps.dental is my email address, WLITTLE@gps.dental, DENTAL. So anybody can reach out directly to me. Look, I mean, once again, I love speaking with dentists. There's, a lot of people in the just may want a little bit of advice or what can I do here or there. You're more than welcome to reach out to me directly, even if you're not seeking partnership with GPS. I'd like to be helpful. There's a lot of people that, like classmates, that have just called me and asked about the GPS, about the landscape of the DSO landscape. Man, hey, what do you think I should do in this scenario? I've got this and that, and I'm happy to help. It only takes a few minutes to send an email back. So, and I'm in front of a computer all the dang time. So I'm happy to do that. So that's, if you want to learn more, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to help in any way, shape, or form. And if you're a young dentist, trying to find a path in the profession, I had one, Dr. Ron Burnett, when I got out. So, he helped me tremendously in my practice career. We were in the same practice in the traditional way, but I had him to bounce ideas off of and stuff. Yeah. And he was instrumental. So we all, if you're a young dentist and you don't have that mentor out there that have been in the profession. And I've done it, I said done it all, but I was an associate for a while. I owned a practice solo for a while, and then been running a DSO for a while. So I tend to have a unique perspective of all the different levels of it. So feel free to reach out. It can be a lonely profession at times. It's it's very taxing mentally. Patients are sometimes tough to deal with. It can be taxing physically. It's tough on your body as well. So it's if you're out there, young docs that need a little help, need a little talking, I'm happy to do it. I was one, and I had one to talk to, and I'm very thankful for that. So, but also, all the dudes who've been in the profession for a long time, I'm happy to talk to them as well. But it's that's certainly where I'd love to be. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I so appreciate your time and appreciate that perspective of wanting to mentor and help. So that's great.
Absolutely. I think that's what we all are here to do, right? Get our experiences and then pass it on to other people, right? So
I think that is an important process as we go through life, right? So
I love it. Absolutely.
Part of fulfilling purpose, right?
Absolutely.
That's how I feel about it. So thank you again for your time, and look forward to communicating further with you as we go down the road here. So
yeah, thanks for reaching out, Matthew. It was a great time. I appreciate it. Best of luck to you. Yep.
Yeah. Thank you. So thank you, everybody, for watching. This is Dr. Matthew Norton, the Truth Behind Dentistry podcast, and with Dr. Will Little of Guided Practice Solutions, or otherwise known as GPS. And look forward to seeing you next time for our next conversation. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. And please tell a friend so we can continue to have these insightful and kind of strategy-inspiring conversations. So thank you.